I look at membership as anywhere where somebody is looking to belong and be part of something bigger than themselves with others. And then what are the experiences that can be enabled there? If we think about membership today, it is a single player game where I
Mm.
have a Netflix subscription every 30 days. Netflix charges my credit card, and I'm able to log back into Netflix and access the content on the other side. And that's as far as it goes.
Welcome to the Proof of Human podcast. I'm your host, Kelly Kim. Proof of Human is validating the human nodes of the Web3 and crypto ecosystem. Why did I start this? Because falling down the rabbit hole hurts. Not only is it a steep journey, but you'll find yourself going at the speed of light and landing with a mighty thump at the bottom of the hole. Amongst countless highly technical concepts, strange digital maneuvers, and even the fact that the entrance to the rabbit hole itself is obscured by alarming headlines in the news, the journey down the rabbit hole is treacherous. Through curated conversations with the people building the next iteration of the web, educational parachutes, and even some lighthearted memetics to ease you down the rabbit hole, consider Proof of Human your ultimate soft landing pad to the proverbial Web3 rabbit hole. Forget giving crypto and blockchain the benefit of the doubt. Gain the benefit of clarity and trust instead. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow the IG, and hit up the podcast on Spotify, Apple Music, and more. And keep up with our weekly content. Ready to discover the next iteration of the web? Awesome. I'll see you down the rabbit hole.
What's up, everyone? Today, we have Patrick Workman on the show. I am so excited to have him on because he is brilliant. He's doing brilliant things. He's been to brilliant places, and he's just a nice guy overall as well. I do want to start off with a brief intro, Patrick. So you're the Vice President of Growth and Partnerships at Unlock Protocol, which has been killing it this past year and obviously previous years too, but especially since you've joined. Your bio says Girl Dad Square. So you're the father to two beautiful girls. I'll ask you a little bit more about what they're like later on. And you also bring over, I think, 20 years of working for crazy big tech companies like Google, Instagram, Pinterest. And lastly, I believe you're based in the Big Apple right now. Correct me if I'm wrong on any of that.
No, that's correct. Currently in New York City, working from a crypto co-working space called Empire DAO in Lower Manhattan. So I was the second resident to move in here, and it's been really fun to watch the evolution over the past 7 months, especially as kind of the cycles of crypto from money to consumer have developed and evolved as well. So thank you for the opportunity to be here. I'm very grateful to have this conversation.
Amazing. I'm grateful to have you on. Firstly, I want to ask, given everything that's happened in even the past month, as you know, crypto is a crazy space. How are you really?
So I'm feeling inspired. And the reason I'm feeling inspired is the conversation is changing in a very positive direction related to kind of what is possible within block space. So the money crypto market is not only down, but I think it's also really being questioned and challenged in ways that are healthy for it to grow and evolve. So speculation as the core product is giving way to consumer use cases for tokens. And the tone and tenor of conversations that I'm having and have been having for the past 60 days that have been accelerated with what's happened with the recent fallout of FTX have really led in the direction of how can we enable experiences through tokens, and what is that connected web going to look like? What are these wallet-aware experiences? What could these experiences be? And really the imagination of people that are building those experiences on the other side, which is ultimately going to kind of get us to a greater adoption of these technologies that will help us unlock a better web.
That's awesome that you have still kept such an optimistic view of the space. I think the real ones have. And I'm really interested to get into more of what tokens can do for creators, society as a whole, a little bit later on. But before we get into that, I want to dig a little deeper into your experience. You've worked for some of the largest organizations in, quote unquote, the Web 2 space. So, as someone who has been involved in and been there for the growth of the social media platforms that we're kind of trying to rectify today, do you remember the exact moment when you realized this is not for me? I want to venture a little bit more down this rabbit hole.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question. So I started my journey within block space playing in the crypto casino in 2015. I have, because all transactions on blockchains are immutable, I have records showing how I was buying Ether when it was at like $2 and Bitcoin when it was at like a couple $100. I didn't hold any of that, just for the record, because I was gambling with coins that I was speculating were going to go up, but the utility and purpose of those coins, I really had no idea what was going on. It was, buy token's going to go up, and that was the product and kind of service that I was buying into. For me, there was a real kind of critical turning point. It happened in April of 2021. Where I discovered a book called Token Economy by Sherman Vorshamir. And Sherman was one of the founders of the DAO. The DAO was the organization that some funkiness happened, and the first fork of Ethereum had to occur due to kind of some draining of the DAO's treasury that was happening during that point in time. And what this book provided me with was a foundational understanding of the language around block space. So I had heard a lot of these words, but I didn't really know what the words meant. And I didn't realize how they were all, the context in which they were all coming together. So for me, token economy was just a massive eye-opening experience. That paired with the timing in the summer of 2021 with the first consumer NFT wave that was happening, with a lot of initial experiments that were occurring, toys being used as tokens. These are the speculative JPEGs that people were purchasing in order to see what is possible within the space, in order to learn. And I just really went all in. Some of the things that I did prior to deciding to work in Web3 full time was I joined the launch team for an NFT project called Illogics. At the time, I reached out via Discord to see if I could get on their allow list. The moderator said no. I asked if I could be a part of their team. They were kind of taken aback. I joined a call with 2 avatars that were not doxed. And for the next 3 months, every night at 7 p.m., I joined a call with a group of 11, I now know, college students or recent college grads out of Toronto that were building a NFT collection. And it was just a wonderful experience in order to be a part of that team and to create a light paper and to create a partnership strategy and a marketing strategy. We did one of the free mints on Ethereum, which we announced in February of 2022. That mint that announcement of a free mint on Ethereum at that time was novel, and we grew our Twitter followers from 6,000 to 60,000 within 24 hours. There was a feeding frenzy for our mint, which occurred in April. On the day of mint, we were actually number 3 in the world in total volume on OpenSea, doing $4.5 million in secondary volume in a 24-hour period. So being part of that rise of Logix was really inspiring, gave me the confidence to see kind of what could happen within this space. In addition to that, I was also a fellow within Kernel, which Kernel is a fellowship program from Gitcoin, where over the course of 8 weeks, they bring 250 unique individuals from all over the globe in order to kind of ideate and think about kind of what an evolved web could be. And within those sessions, I just met some really extraordinary people, in addition to kind of fortifying the language necessary to kind of talk about what we're doing and kind of the foundational reasons why.
Wow. I really like hearing about your journey because, for one main reason, you've dipped your toes into every part of the ecosystem, right? You've been in DeFi, starting out in the crypto casino. You've read up on, you've read text on it, so you've really understood the concepts and the fundamental ideas. And then you went down the NFT rabbit hole and actually got involved in a successful project, and seeing what that dynamic is like. And then you kind of joined a DAO, got used to the DAO structure and all of those dynamics. So that's a really comprehensive understanding of what Web3 is right now. And I'm sure that has carried through to the current day, where you have this view of what it used to be, and then what it can be and what it's becoming. So that's super interesting.
Yeah, I think maybe just
awesome.
to unpack that a bit. One of the motivating factors for me to move away from big tech partnership growth opportunities and move into block space is I fundamentally believe that the business model of attention is a flawed model for not only information, but for the web at large. I think that building businesses on the internet based solely on attention creates misaligned incentives, and has caused a lot of the challenges that we're facing in society today. And unless we create new models for the web in the form of membership, which is what Unlock Protocol creates, we will be kind of beholden to algorithms that are better at knowing what we want than our lizard brains allow us to know. And those algorithms are going to serve information that they know we are going to click on and spend time with, not information that is necessarily going to be healthy to us or others. So fundamentally, I think the business model of the web needs to switch, and I don't think that can happen within the current constructs of advertising. So I'm grateful for the opportunity to be building a new model for the web.
That's awesome. I'm curious if you see this switch from, switch from attention to membership. Do you think that kind of the fundamental existence of the internet will, the reason for its existence will change, as will it, with what it's trying to achieve?
Well, if you think about kind of what is the incentive? So I've done a lot of kind of historical research on this, and if you look back at kind of the early internet pioneers in kind of Web 1, and this isn't Web 2, this is when I I grew up in a small town in Idaho, which is a state in the northwest of the United States, and 5,000 people, farming community, one stoplight, pretty sheltered in terms of what was there. Uh, when I first discovered the internet through a dial-up modem in 1994, and I was able to create a bulletin board system that I could put out onto public Usenets, and then people would visit my bulletin board system that I had created in a pretty decentralized way. It was such a magical moment in my life because I realized there was this tool that was expanding my worldview and it was going to change everything. And in that kind of raw format, that enabled me to connect with others in really without the reliance of any kind of platform. The platform at that stage was the internet. Um, when we take a look at kind of how the pioneers like Tim Berners-Lee, the creator of HTTP, which the entire internet as we know it has been built upon. When you look at kind of how they were thinking about what the internet should be going forward, they knew that advertising wasn't going to be the best model. And I don't know if you're aware of this, but have you ever searched the web and saw like a 404 error code, like the internet is over, or like you've reached the end of the internet, or like something's actually broken? Like we face these pages all the time. That's actually built into HTTP. There's also an error 402 code called payment required. And the reason that payment required was built into the initial HTTP documentation is, of course, payment has to be required, because if payment isn't required, how are people going to get paid? And if people aren't going to get paid, what incentive would they have to put things on the internet? So based in 1989, the idea of making payment required to access things on the internet was really a pipe dream for many factors. One, people didn't trust the machines. So like, I'm not going to put my money into the machine. It was challenging to get money into the machine because the availability of credit cards, like that wasn't what we have today. That pivotal moment in human history in 1989, if there was a financial layer that was built into HTTP that would have ultimately built some payment mechanism into the internet that was greater than what the greatest minds of my generation have built, which are advertising machines that are matching eyeballs with brands in order to sell stuff to them. I think society at large would be different. And I think that we have an opportunity to kind of realign and rebalance the model of attention to something that's going to be based around people contributing and participating with their wallet directly one-to-one. So the incentive from a information perspective is quality and truth, not volume and sensationalism.
I love that. I think we've spent really the last 2 decades trying to fix what has happened with attention in terms of even happiness as an abstract phenomena affecting like the whole world and its citizens. I'd be really interested to see how that trend changes with the advance of Web3. Guess I would love to kind of move on more into your role at Unlock Protocol as growth, partnerships, the vice president of growth and partnerships. Like, what are the different things that you've seen working in the same role in Web 2 versus Web 3? What are the different pulleys that you've had to pull, the different barriers, or some of the more exciting things in Web 3 versus Web 2?
Yeah, so the fundamentals are very similar in that people have goals and they want to achieve those goals often by working with others. So it's understanding what is that goal and what is that objective. How you achieve those goals through new technologies without a playbook is significantly different. So when I was building partner ecosystems on top of Instagram and Pinterest's ad API, there was a playbook for advertising. There was a very clear playbook for ad tech in terms of you would plug into this machine and then you would have an advertiser that wanted to reach different personas of people. They had set a kind of a point of diminishing returns in terms of how much they were willing to pay to reach those people, or get a click, or actually achieve actually secure a transaction. There were very clear return on ad sales metrics that were common that you could compare across multiple platforms. So having accepted standards and also a massive digital advertising market to pull from is definitely an advantage of Web 2. In Web 3, there is no playbook. So what I'm doing every day is writing how a web connected through wallet aware experiences that are enabled with tokens could work. Often it's theory about how we think it will work until we put it into a practice and actually learn and be able to evaluate like what we're seeing. So working in block space at this stage has been the absolute privilege of my career, and I'm stoked to be part of all the places we're going to go.
Right. So you're basically starting over from scratch, and kind of you're writing the future of that growth, what that looks like.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say scratch, because there are many learnings in terms of, like, I'm not the first person to think about what a partnership program is going to look like, for example. But in terms of how creating an ecosystem within environments where, in Unlock's case, governance is through a DAO. Our treasury was turned over to a DAO a few months ago. Very soon, the actual protocol will be turned over to that DAO. A lot of what I'm doing is inspiration, and that inspiration is necessary in order to create imagination and really get cool wallet aware experiences on the other side. So provide reasons for people to issue tokens, and then those tokens would enable the great experiences on the other side. That is brand new. That type of inspiration from an advertising perspective is typically kind of the art piece. The science would dictate kind of what performance is going to be. The art would actually push creativity. In Web 3, it's really just a kind of a balance of everything mashed together, and then determining okay, we have a lot of heady kind of thought pieces that people have written about where this could theoretically go. It's putting that into practice, launching some experiments, learning, and then iterating, because every time we experiment, that is an opportunity for everyone in the space to learn and build from, and make the user experience better.
Awesome. Curious from the top of your head if there's one thing that you've read recently that has made you really excited about what can be built.
I mean, I'm going back. I'm reading text. I'm at the stage of my reading where I'm reading textbooks. I recently read Self-Sovereign Identity, which is a pretty heavy, 450-page book about decentralized identity, privacy, how zero knowledge proofs will lead to kind of greater privacy and visibility for all of us. I'm really excited about the potential of what a membership could represent within an ecosystem. The mental model I like to use is, what if my Facebook account was an NFT? And what would the connected experiences that developers could build on top of understanding who I am on Facebook? What are all the rad experiences that could be built on the other side? And that's what gets me excited. It's how can you look at who somebody is within X and then create kind of net new recommendations or experiences that haven't been imagined due to the way that data is currently constrained within each one of these individual environments. It's taking the pawns that are Google, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Shopify, Spotify, Twitter, the New York Times, Walmart, Amazon, Apple, and pouring all those into a big, massive data lake, and then seeing what cool new applications can be built on the other side.
Yeah. Wow. Just thinking of that possibility. It's a lot of data, and it'd be interesting because I feel like on each of these platforms, at least for me, I think I'm a different person on Facebook versus somewhere like Goodreads, they're two totally different people. So am I as an individual on the digital realm when all of my platforms are coalesced into one big mixture? Yeah, that's a really cool thing to think about.
And I think just pulling on that a bit too, it's this idea of I walk through life as Patrick Workman. I'm a father of two wonderful girls. I'm a husband and partner to a wonderful and beautiful wife. I live in Brooklyn. I need a haircut at the moment. I have I have flaws. I have thoughts, but I'm going through life in this shell of myself every day, being who I actually am. The idea that we can have this kind of fragmented digital persona and identity that not by choice, like we've been forced into. I am this is who I am on Facebook. This is who I am on Twitter. This is who I am on LinkedIn. This is who I am on all these different islands. I have no choice but to be that fragmented person online based upon those are the signals and that's the data that I'm providing each one of these services. I think that if I had the choice in order to be whole and be myself, whatever that self would be online, I think that's really powerful. And I think that if we enable people to do that, it's going to create some good things for culture and society at large.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of crazy to think that we don't have a choice to like be who we are, but once that's unlocked per se, I think some really cool things are gonna happen. And on that topic, I do want to circle back to kind of unlock protocol and what you're trying to achieve with membership. Membership models are something that at least, we've heard membership as the term. But how are you kind of reinventing that term, and what is wrong with the current model of memberships as we know it?
Yeah, so I think that for context, so Unlock creates memberships. Those memberships are NFTs. Those NFTs are ERC 721s, which has become the technical standard for kind of NFTs in somebody's wallet. The protocol was released in 2018, so it's an open source bunch of code that anyone can use to create memberships as NFTs, and it was released before NFTs were cool. We were actually joking yesterday that Unlock was creating NFTs before they were cool, while they were cool, and now where they may not be cool anymore. So gone through like 3 different waves there. The concept of membership, I think that the mental model of what that could represent can be expanded. So a ticket to an event is a membership to that event, whether one night only or maybe over a few days if that's a conference. A membership could be a driver's license. So your driver's license issued by a state or country or municipality, and you are one of many members on that contract. It could be kind of the way that a free membership. So I get like a loyalty program in order to be a part of whatever this entity is creating. A subscription. So I think like a Netflix subscription is ultimately a membership within the Netflix ecosystem. You pay on a monthly basis, you receive something on the other side, you are part of the Netflix thing. It's up to them kind of how they expand what membership can represent within that service. So I look at membership as anywhere where somebody is looking to belong and be part of something bigger than themselves with others. And then what are the experiences that can be enabled there? If we think about membership today, it is a single player game where I have a Netflix subscription every 30 days. Netflix charges my credit card, and I'm able to log back into Netflix and access the content on the other side. And that's as far as it goes. Netflix wanted to be bigger than Netflix, and they wanted to form partnerships for subscribers outside of the siloed Netflix environment. To do that through traditional customer databases would be very challenging because you'd be merging customer databases between two different kind of entities. In many cases, it's illegal because of data sharing and kind of what you could actually do there. And it's very complex. In a multiplayer environment within Blockspace, you can reduce the tech lift of creating connected experiences by taking the contract address from Netflix and plugging that into the contract address or a paywall in the New York Times. And now all of a sudden, Netflix subscribers get a 30-day subscription to the New York Times as a value for having a Netflix subscription. And that partnership could be direct from Netflix and the New York Times. It could be indirect, and the New York Times just advertising and announcing that, hey, all Netflix subscribers now have a subscription for 30 days, and you go through this paywall and claim it this way. That's where I think this entire thing gets interesting. In a single player model, membership is limited. When you expand that to become more multiplayer, that's where kind of blockchains make a lot of sense.
That's so cool. So you've just kind of touched on what memberships can unlock for big organizations like Netflix, but I'm curious on a smaller scale, for example, the individual content creator or the local band, what can that look like when they have their own membership model?
Yeah, and I think that the types of creators that I talk to, and I use creator very broadly. So for me, creator could be Netflix, or it could be a blogger that has a blog that 10 people read, or someone that has a newsletter, right? Everything in between. It all comes down to the experience. It's what is being created and what value is being created, and how is that value translated to members or kind of an audience on the other side. And that's really dependent on the appetite of what that creator would be. There have been models. Medium, for example, the publishing company, Julian Jedasau, who wrote Unlock Protocol, his previous company, Superfeeder, was actually purchased by Medium, and he was involved in the early stages of Medium's membership model. And I think like that's a good example where I pay $5 a month to Medium just because it feels like something I should be doing, because it's a new way to support journalism and the people that are providing that content. The one-to-one model of me paying in order to access the work of whether that be a contract creator, a small band, kind of accessing a small business, those models and constructs allow me to contribute directly to them. And there's a lot of power in that. We recently launched an app called Flocker. The concept behind it is the ability to migrate your Twitter followers to another service that's wallet aware. And the reason that we launched that is to inspire different types of thinking, that like you aren't actually bound to one of these platforms for distribution. You can create a contract address and then take your members with you in a completely portable way. Where that breaks down is you actually have to provide enough value within those different spaces, and you have to give people enough of an incentive to keep coming back in order to make up for the distribution that's going to be lost across these other platforms. So the potential's there. It's really up to the individual creators in order to determine what they're going to do to make these experiences kind of better than, or at least equivalent to, what's currently being available through the least channels and presence that they have across the web today.
Yeah, so it sounds like you're giving a lot of power back to whoever is choosing to use Unlock, which is awesome. It feels great to have more autonomy over what you do with the tech that you use in your life, right? That's really cool. was your recent, so Flocker, was that a response to kind of the impending breakdown of Twitter, or was that totally unrelated?
No, I mean it was definitely anchored on plugging into an existing news cycle, but it was really the intent behind there was to help people visualize what this kind of vague idea of interoperability could actually mean. So interoperability is a big word that is not understood. So how could we create connected experiences with tokens? So here's a paywall, put a token inside it, get to the other side. So we need to create as many of those as possible in order to inspire better wallet aware and learn from those wallet aware experiences. So it was really an action to latch on to something that was a headline, but really start to inspire a meme of a connected web that where creators are in control of their own destiny and they can port their audience, the people that care about them most, from place to place without lock into an individual platform.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so keep your people inside your safe space. I love that.
Your people are your people. And if you today, if you say, hey, come to Mastodon on Twitter, some of those people are going to come to Mastodon. And if you want them to stay on Mastodon, you have to create a better experience on Mastodon. Like there's no tokens don't solve that. It's still, the web is still going to be built around experiences. It's just if we can create better balance in terms of how those incentives are to make the incentive less about keeping people to stay through sensational information and more about kind of quality information and providing a healthier diet, I think it's going to be a better web.
Sounds great. Patrick, just in the interest of time, I will wrap up, but I am curious, if you could take your followers anywhere, have there been any like projects or protocols that you'd be keen to take your people with you to?
So I actually did an experiment 2 months ago, and you can check it out on Twitter. The handle is subscription NFT. The project is This is a subscription NFT. I wanted a way to explain and show how a subscription NFT works, which is just the way that a Netflix subscription works. Essentially, you pay once and then your balance gets to zero, and then at zero, your wallet is charged in order to re-up that NFT. And then if you're re-up, you have a valid NFT and you can get access. So I actually created a process, and within 24 hours, I had 29 people paying me 0.99 USDC a month in order to be part of the Secret Subscriber Society, which is a Telegram channel that I created through Guild. The entire process took me less than 30 minutes to set up to create the contract, deploy the contract, create a purchase experience, to enable credit card payments through Stripe, as well as token enable a Telegram channel with the tokens that were being created. So for 3 US cents and 30 minutes, I created a model where now there's 29 USDC coming in per month in order to be part of the Secret Subscriber Society. And the reason I bring that up is it's those types of experiments that as we play and explore, that we learn about to see what value needs to be created in order to retain people. And that's my struggle now. How can I create enough value for the Secret Subscriber Society to get people to retain? Because I feel like I'm on the hook as kind of the leader in order to do that. So it's been a fun exercise for me in terms of what does value creation really mean and where do I want to spend my time.
Yeah, that's a really fun way to think about creating your circle of people, and try to subscribe, but I have to get back onto that and figure out how exactly to follow through.
The UI UX can get funky. If you see something, say something. So feedback is a gift, and I definitely love presents. So if you do see something, please let me know.
For sure, I'm going to do that straight after this call. Lastly, where else can people find you other than your Twitter? And if they're already a member of your subscription NFT, then obviously they know. But where can people read up about what you're thinking, what you're doing, and where you are?
Yeah, one, grateful for the opportunity. Kelly, thank you for having me on this interview. It's been a real pleasure to chat with you. You can find me as Patrick Workman across all of the things. So Patrick Workman on Twitter, Telegram, LinkedIn, probably many other services there too. Lens, Farcaster, you name it, Patrick Workman on all of the things.
Wow. Amazing. Patrick, I am so grateful for your time. I hope we can speak again, when more things happen with Unlock. And yeah, it's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you again. I really appreciate your and everyone's time.
Thank you so much.